Hello, my name is Jean and I am a knitter. And I know I was going to talk a little bit today about some knitting technology, but I have actually been knitting. This is the beginning of my Brioche Afghan. And it's actually going pretty well. I've made some changes to the pattern. I'm not using the weight yarn that the pattern called for. And I'm doing many more pattern repeats than the pattern called for because I went down in size. But in order to get an Afghan the size that will actually cover my body, when I am curled up on the sofa, I needed to make more pattern repeats. And there we go. It doesn't look like a whole lot of anything, but I started using a 2-color cast on, which is, oh dear, I have a drop stitch. I just spotted it. I need to put something there, but we'll get there. And knitting at night in the dark after 2 glasses of wine is not recommended. But I found it and it's a drop stitch. It's not gone running away and I'll be okay. But when I was chatting with my yarn buds on our regular Zoom call, Brigitte showed something that I had to share. I bought many feet of what people call barber cord because it's just a silicone tubing. It's stretchy. It comes in different colors. This is the 3mm diameter. And Brigitte showed me something. I have circular knitting needles and they are 2.75 millimeter. And it is very difficult to find point protectors that work for knitting needles that are this small, sharp, and I have lotion on my hands because I have dry skin. But the point is so narrow and sharp that what you end up doing is stabbing through the point protector and poking the end of it out. And it doesn't actually protect the point. It'll keep stitches from falling off, but it doesn't protect the point. But Brigitte cut a length of her barber cord and uses it as point protectors. And it works amazingly well. Phenomenally well. Thank you so much for this tip, Brigitte. You get the credit. You get all the credit. I am just copying what someone else showed me, and I am sharing it with you because it's just too cool not to use. I've got some close-up pictures of what I actually did. I cut a length of my barber cord. It is 5 1/2 inches long, and I cut the ends, if you can see, just barely. They're not blunt cut. I cut them at a 45-degree angle. It's easy enough to do with a good sharp pair of scissors. You can use your rotary cutter, you can use scissors, you can use a razor blade. Just make sure you don't cut your skin while you're cutting this. That's all you need. 5 1/2 inches of barber cord. You could even use 4 inches or 3 inches, but I just picked randomly, about 6. And then as I was trimming the edges and the points, it got down to 5 1/2. Whoopee! But it works. It works so well. It's easy to put on. I like the angle cut because it allows me to slide a fingernail under the pointed edge and help it off because it sticks really firmly. my knitting needle pointy ends do not shove all the way through, stab out the other end, and cause issues. It's also flexible. I can curl it and twist it and bend it, and if my stitches slide one way or slide the other way, it doesn't matter. They're not going to drop off the needle. All I have to do is find where the yarn is. Boop, boop, and I am back in business. This is the perfect protector for stuffing your circular knitting needles into some bag and then shoving the bag over your shoulder and carting it around all day. You're not going to stab through the bag. You're not going to have stitches fall off the needles. The point protectors aren't going to get jostled off in some way. It works. It works. It's not expensive. If you already have barber cords, all you need to do is take one and just off a couple of inches and then trim the ends to points. I highly recommend that. And you've got it too. If you have a friend that went out and bought a big roll, well then give them a quarter. Buy 5 inches, 6 inches off of them. You've got one. Hallelujah. So, that's my big deal. Point protectors that are easily available for knitting needles that have long, sharp points and tiny diameters, which are difficult to find point protectors for. I have actually only one set of point protectors that I really like for these needles. Well, I used to only have one set. Now I have as many sets as I feel like chopping up. When I go to my knit group face-to-face on Friday, I am going to take a half dozen of these and pass them out like Halloween candy. I can do that because this many yards of this stuff, and let me tell you, this goes to a small diameter. This is many yards of this tubing, boing, 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 that didn't cost but $9, I think. Yeah, I can give this away like Halloween candy to my knitter friends. All I have to do is use my scissors and snip, snip, snip a few. I'm so looking forward to sharing this with people that I knit with. And that's kind of a fun thing. And that's kind of what I like to do here. Share my knitting fun with other people. And I really think this is worth sharing. Oh, goodness. Because you don't use barber cords for try-on stuff or try-on cards or whatever this, because I think barber cords is like copywritten. I'm sorry. If you bought a set, fine. But if you just got yards and yards of this tubing, which does stretch, it's available in different millimeter than 2. I have 3 millimeter. Brigitte had 2 millimeter, and she said she wanted the 3 millimeter. And I just think it's wonderful. And no, I didn't invent it. Brigitte did. And I give her the credit and just share. She shared it with me. I'm sharing it with you. Oh, it's such a cool tip. Something else to do with try-on cords other than try things on. But imagine, I can do this with it. And I don't worry. I can carry this around. It's not going to go whoop and fall off. You can't get better than that. You just can't get better than that. And this tubing comes in colors other than purple, but you know me. Given a choice. I can keep knitting, and I sure hope you do too.